Ash vs. Evil Dead Season 2, Episode 8, Ashy, Slashy. This episode didn't go as I was expecting it to. I want to jump straight to the end, but I'll go through the normal pacing. So, to start with the beginning, I really like the theme of it, where everyone's kind of running around. It's like, we have to find Ash. You know, he's kind of like the pseudo villain, like I mentioned in my last review. I was super excited for this because of the promo where he's hunting the rest of the team, and how the heck are they going to deal with this? So they're going through, and it starts off pretty quick. We find out that, and of course I didn't really remember any of their names, but like the family, I only remember the daughter's name, Lacey, because they said it like a dozen times in this episode, but her mother, we find out, was actually real in the last episode. I just assumed all of that stuff was fake. But we find out that she was actually there, and so she goes back to Baal, who's actually dressed up in the doctor outfit. I just assumed everything was a hallucination, but we find out that she's real. Her husband is there, and of course they're talking with Baal because he has their daughter. And it's supposed to be like, the deal is like, alright, I convinced them that this was happening and stuff, so give us our daughter back. And of course Baal is like the demonic supervillain, so he's like, no. So, of course, things get really crazy, and we find out that their daughter is actually dead. Like, she's been turned into a deadeye, which really sucks. Like, that whole family just had a crazy situation. Like, she had to watch all of her friends get murdered while she was trapped inside the car. Then she's inside of the police station as they watch a bunch of people get killed. She's, I don't know where the heck she was when they were in the house. She was somewhere else. But things are just crazy continuously. And then basically it just ends with she died. And that was it. Like, she had to get killed. Like, Kelly had to defend herself. And she, like, destroyed her head. Like, blew her head off and stuff. And it was just crazy. I was like, man, all the insanity that this family went through. And before that, of course, she ends up killing her father and, like, ripping his head off like Mortal Kombat. So, it's just insane. Like, everything they went through was absolutely nuts. And the mother, she's just left alone. She finds her husband with, his head just torn out. And then, of course, she doesn't see Lacey's body, but Kelly, she knows that something's off, so she confronts Kelly and she tells her the truth, or like half of it at least. I don't know if that'll really come out that, she was, Kelly was the one that actually did it, but it was just crazy. All the stuff that they had to go through. And Kelly had a crazy adventure in this episode. She has to kill a young girl, and then she runs into Amanda from the last episode. I was like, okay, that person was real as well. And I thought that was just a part of the hallucination, but it was an actual person, sort of, because I'm assuming those other people that Ash killed really weren't there, and clearly some of the other people weren't either. So it was a weird sort of like pseudo hallucination thing, but that part was kind of real. She was actually there, and it was just a woman that was like super doped up. And so Kelly goes from that to actually going up against the Ashy Slashy doll. And that was crazy, or puppet, I guess. So that was a crazy little scene, and this thing is like biting the crap out of her. It dunks her head in the pea thing. I forgot what they're actually called, but that was just crazy. Like, she went through all that with fighting this little thing off. Then of course she like blows his brains out, and it's just full of meat and blood and stuff. And I'm like, this, it's just so silly. It would have been really funny if it kept like the cotton thing and it was just like a bunch of red cotton came out. That would have been hilarious. But of course it's just this little hand puppet, and she shoots it and it just splatters like a normal head. And I was like, this is just nuts. Like, they're going through all this crazy stuff. And then of course we have Ruby and Pablo, and they're going through, and they're the ones who really have to deal with Ash, because Ash is trying to kill Pablo since he is now the book. So I love the way it all played out. I mentioned that I was super excited for it. I was like, alright, Ash is going to basically be the main villain for this episode. But it was really a half and half thing, because Kelly was doing her own storyline, and then, we had Ruby and Pablo, and they were in like the other half of the storyline. So I just like the way it was playing out, and it goes through, and then Ash finally shows up, and it gets really crazy, and he does the thing where he like lights, he uses like the chainsaw to like light a trail of fire and stuff. I thought that was really cool. And so then he's chasing them down and stuff, and they end up in the closet. And I love the part where Ash shows up and he's like having a heart-to-heart, and then Pablo like punches him in the face, and it's just like a normal reaction. And I thought that was so funny even when I saw it in the trailer. And I was like, that's like, it was funny because it was like, man, he's like possessed and controlled and stuff. And it's almost like um, he got snapped out of it. That was just a natural reaction to Ash being punched, but he's supposed to be possessed. And so then it goes on, and we find out all this crazy stuff happened. I'm like, man, they caught Pablo, and he's chained up and stuff. And I was like, this is the vision that he had. Like, this is that vision where he, like, had his throat slit. And I was like, oh, man, like, this is what's happening right now. And it's going to be them stopping Baal from, like, cutting his throat and, taking him out. And so it goes through this whole process. Baal shows up. Everybody's in there. He's, like, throwing people around and stuff. And then we find out Ash was never possessed. He actually just, like, screwed them, just was screwing around with everybody. He acted like Baal had him under his control, like he was crazy. And it was just nuts. I was like, wow, he was never in control. This whole time, he was just like, yep, this was my plan. The whole friggin' time. Do all this crazy stuff, trick you guys into this horrible and scary situation. But I did it, got Pablo and Baal in the same room. They take him down, and Pablo, what they did with Ruby was really awesome. When she came in after Baal was like, oh, well, screw this, and he really starts throwing people around. And Ruby comes in and does, like, that crazy spiral thing and, like, twists him and slams him on the ground and slams the necklace, Pablo's necklace, into his chest to kind of, mess with him. So they have him on the table. Pablo's doing his thing, which is a really cool moment. And, like, the tattoos are moving, which was crazy. When he stabbed him in the eyeballs, I didn't expect that part. And then the tattoos, like, flow down his thumbs into Baal. But, he's chanting and he's flying and he's floating and stuff. And I was like, this is really cool. And then, Baal's freaking out and stuff like that. And I thought they were going to do the vision thing where he was going to, like, reach up and, like, slit Pablo's throat. It was kind of like a blend of two different moments actually came true from the vision. But instead, he gets defeated. Like, I was like, oh, he cut his stomach and he's, like, scratching him up and stuff. But that was it. It was like, okay, he beat him and, like, he blows up and there's, like, black ink on everybody. And it's like, man, like, you really did it. Like, you beat him. And then you hear the sound effect. And I thought, oh, crap, like, he cut him open. His guts are, like, spilling out right now. Something's going to happen and they have to, like, rescue him. And then he literally falls apart. Like, I thought it was just going to be his stomach was ripped open, but he split him in half. And I guess Pablo is dead. It's really hard to say if he's 100% dead, if they actually killed him off. But they also did that in the first season with the cop character, because I thought for sure it was going to be like a quartet sort of thing. It was going to be Ash, Pablo, Kelly, as well as the cop. And then she ends up dying, like, the episode before last. And I was like, I didn't know that was going to happen. I thought for sure these were all going to be main characters that kept going, fighting off Deadites. And now, like, she ended up dying. And now they do it again with Pablo. And he may or may not permanently be dead. And it's impossible to say, because he still has all those spells on him. It wasn't like everything vanished. He still has all sorts of tattoos and stuff all over the top half of his body. And also, it would just really freaking suck if they killed off Pablo, because he was, basically he was the second character in the series. Like, Ash shows up, and then Pablo's there, because they work together at the store. And I'm just like, man, there's no way that he can truly be gone. Like, it's just insane to me. So now we have to wait until December 2nd, so we got like 2 weeks because of Thanksgiving. So I really don't know what to expect, but of course, like everybody, I think, I'm hoping that Pablo is not permanently gone. That would be insane, and that would really suck. I'd get used to it, but I would hate that. It would really suck if Pablo was 100% gone and there was nothing that they could do. So I don't know what to expect. I'm looking forward to this next episode, of course, because all I want at this point is an answer to resurrecting Pablo. They keep his body. That was like the one big thing I had hope for, because it was like they wrapped his body up and they didn't like bury him at the asylum or anything like that and, bury him. They kept the body parts. I'm like, okay, that could lead to a million things. With it being Evil Dead, you never know. Just having the body could either be good or it could be bad. But there's always a way for somebody to come back. If Deadites can come back, if you've seen the movies, you know that plays out. So they can go through some pretty crazy stuff and, keep going. But with Pablo being like the manifestation of the Necronomicon, even though it wasn't 100% complete, and that might be a part of it where it wasn't complete, but it continues to, it continues to develop and that's what forces his body to come back to life. And maybe he'll just have like powers that he can use every once in a while. Who knows? But he doesn't have the necklace, so that's another thing. And they talked about it where it's like, oh, I don't know if the necklace is gonna hold back my complete transformation 100%. Like it seems like it's getting weaker and weaker, and the Necronomicon's power is getting stronger within me. So maybe with him not having the necklace and him going through that crazy spell where he actually utilizes the power of the Necronomicon, it'll force his body, back together because he's no longer mentally conscious to, fight back against the book. So that's my only hope. I don't know if that, like I said, the whole idea of him like being a villain because he's controlled, maybe that'll come back into play after he's like resurrected or whatever. But I don't want him to be gone. Obviously, that would really freaking suck. So I'm hoping that this is not a permanent death, but it's hard to say. Like the first thing I thought of was the first season where I was like, man, I didn't think she would die either, and they did it right before the season finale, and she got killed. So it's so hard to say. I would hope not. And there seems like, with the whole Necronomicon manifesting itself in Pablo, that seems like the biggest way and easiest way for him to come back so that it's not a permanent death. But for now, it's still absolutely insane. But definitely want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And of course, the only question really worth asking is whether or not you guys think Pablo is permanently gone. Do you want him to be permanently gone? Is he permanently gone? If not, I definitely want to know your theories on how he'll either get resurrected or the book will, resurrect itself, I guess, since technically he and the book are one and the same now. So, want to know your theories and, of course, what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.